I have a new employee who I'm paying minimum wage to who is no short of amazing. I want to give him a raise, but I don't know how much. Traditionally, someone in HR will ask what the roles and responsibilities are and then query a reliable resource such as Glassdoor to see what the fair market value is. And though that is one lens to look through, my recommendation is as follows. You need to define and customize the following. Number one, the role within your organization and how it contributes overall to the operations and profitability. And number two, the individual within the organization that is currently filling that role. But before you can put a number on it, you also have to have the conversation about when you onboarded this individual, what was the role or classification of the employee when they were hired? You wanting to give them a raise, is it because they're in fact proficient in that identical role? Or has their role changed? Have they grown? Have they taken on additional roles and responsibilities? You see how the lines can get blurred very quickly? If you're not very strategic about this, your authentic desire to celebrate this individual who is definitely proficient / excellent in their role and potentially the new role within your organization can quickly go awry if you don't manage expectations and present the framework as to why the number for the compensation is changing. Yes, you can create a path for growth within your organization. You can provide a framework, but the framework has to be loose and pliable and transparent because your business is going to continuously evolve and you want the organization to remain healthy. You must know that nothing is forever. And if you put the individual first, managing their personal and professional growth, really and truly, you can never go wrong. Yes, it's a job on top of a job. But I've learned that business is people. And let me tell you, nothing feels worse than failing people who have believed in you and who have supported your vision. The inspiration for this video is based on this inquiry from a client yesterday. And I realized that while I was guiding him towards a solution, where I was using concrete examples from my past experiences, illustrating what worked and what didn't work, well, a real life example came to the surface. 10 years ago, I had a warehouse manager and who also managed our trucking logistics. And within a 3-year time span, this gentleman's workload doubled. Nobody noticed because it doubled for everybody within the organization. And within the organization, the culture at that time was definitely focused on growth. So to be honest with you, we were all so excited to be growing at this rapid pace that it didn't matter what was being piled on. All we wanted to do was to succeed. But we didn't realize that what used to be able to get done in 8 hours was now taking longer and definitely required more support. And that support wasn't coming from anywhere. So again, what all of us used to do, let's just say for a total of 80 events, now it's 160 events. And we were still expected to produce at that level of excellence, which is impossible. But again, nobody noticed, nobody spoke upon it. This gentleman got very ill, year 3, came down with shingles. And after he recovered, he came to the organization and wanted to have a conversation about the expectations and his roles and responsibilities, etc. We didn't have an official HR department back then. So by default, I got to wear the HR hat. And it didn't help that this gentleman was also a friend of mine as well. So we sat down and went over his roles and responsibilities. And at no time did he bring up, and at no time did I even think that, again, what was once X amount 3 years ago was now double that amount at present. I was only focused on the roles and responsibilities and that old-fashioned, antiquated classification. This is your classification. This is fair market value. Yes, that is fair market value for this, with this volume at this time. So many mistakes were being made by many people in the organization, this gentleman included, which is, again, understandable. His workload doubled, and there was no additional support, staff, or resources to assist him in executing double the work. So after going down this spreadsheet over and over and over, dissecting roles and responsibilities, Googling, the fair market value for this particular classification, we were still coming up with this number, this dollar amount. And it was never about the money. It was literally about this individual wanting the organization to take a look and see the workload that had been piled not only upon him, but upon the organization as a whole. And we didn't do it. We failed in that analysis. I failed in that analysis. As a matter of fact, he ended up submitting his resignation. And, there's a lot of regret around that, fast forward 10 years, because the analysis was not sound. We did a huge disservice to this individual. We did not take into consideration all of the nuances. And he didn't know how to articulate it. We did a horrible job in listening and advocating for the individual who, again, had supported our organization for many, many, many years to a breaking point. So, for those of you new in business, for those of you who are in fact that employee, this is where the metrics and the data really help. And the message here is to convey that none of that was intentional. He didn't know how to advocate for himself, and at that point in my experience and my life cycle in business, I didn't know how to advocate for him either. And losing this individual was a great loss to the organization. We just didn't know any better. So if you're in a situation where an organization or management is in fact fully aware and taking advantage of the situation, complete different story. But if you are working for an organization, or if you are in fact the manager or the leader of an organization, I want to implore you to really understand the role within the organization, the cog in the wheel, how the organization runs, no matter who is in that role, because talent will come and go. You will have individuals who become proficient quickly, who can do things at a rapid pace, who have an amazing track record of accuracy. And then you will have others in that same role who operate differently. So you have to define what the role is and what the minimum expectation is for that role, for the organization to operate optimally at that very moment in time. And should anything change, anything, volume, loss of staff, all of those metrics need to be adjusted, and you have to circle back to your team and you have to have a conversation. Hey, we're doing 3 more accounts this year, 5 less accounts this year. Therefore, we are going to allocate X amount of time to this new venture or this new endeavor. And if you have it all outlined, it manages expectations and it's respectful for both parties. It's respectful for the organization and respectful for the individual. Because I will tell you that I've had many people come to me and say, I need to make more money. And I've had to have the conversation where I say, this role will not allow for anything to exceed this budget. It has nothing to do with you. You are amazing. This organization at this time and this role within the organization at this time has this amount earmarked for this role. And if this is something that no longer meets your needs or your vision, please tell me how I can set you up for success to move on to something greater. And again, you have to be willing to let people go. You have to be willing to let people fly. That's actually your responsibility, to support their vision, not yours.